How do you feel about rate buy downs? Are you seeing that a lot right now?
I have not. So, are you familiar with the 2-1 buy down?
Yes, but explain it.
So, if the note rate, let's say what the client qualifies for is a 7%, a 2-1 buy down. So, the first year, the rate's 2% lower than your note rate. So, 5% the first year, then the next year it's 6%, and then your third and remaining 27 years on a 30-year is your note rate. So, essentially, the seller, you'd negotiate the seller to pay for this, and it bridges the gap between your note rate and that 2% and 1% lower rate each year to make the lender whole. The lender still wants his payment on 7%. So if your rate's 2% lower the first year, someone needs to bridge that gap. And that's where that money comes from. So we did some of those. They came out back when rates started to increase and sellers weren't paying concessions still. I'd say concessions started happening in the last, heavily 8 months, 9 months. And rates have been curtailing down a little bit. So I personally haven't done too many of them.
It's kind of a great deal, though. I mean, especially now that we are leaning kind of in between a buyer and seller's market, you're going to have sellers make a lot of concessions to get their property sold. And if you can get some sort of a credit to pay those 2 years of interest, it eliminates that objection, right? My job and your job is to let someone make an informed decision, right? So if we can guide them in a certain direction and let them know that's the best case scenario, that's what they should do to move forward. If they found a fantastic house and they can do a 2-1 buy down, do it all day. That's always my advice. Like, people ask me, is it a good time to buy? I say, just focus on the property. Just focus on the property.
Is it a good property to buy? Yeah.
Is it a good property on a good street in a neighborhood you love? You like the house? Then you have to figure it out, because I think inventory is only going to continue to get tighter. People that have locked on to fantastic homes they love are not going to move.
No,
because they've locked in low rates. Why would they move unless they have to? Divorce, death. There's certain reasons why people have to sell. But if you've found your, so to speak, dream home, rates aren't crazy enough to not buy it. You could do a 2-1 buy down. You could go ahead and buy it, eat it, and then refinance. I think every indicator I've seen says rates will dip below where they are now in the next maybe year, maybe even sooner, maybe this year. Everything I'm looking at says rates are going to come down. Our economy is relatively healthy because of COVID and all the shutdowns and everything that happened. We've kind of stabilized ourselves. Rates should come down. So just focus on the right home. That's what I always say.
I mean, it's good advice, but it's easy when we're the ones giving the advice, right? Yeah. I couldn't agree with you more. If I could get into a home or any investment that I could lock in, and even if rates weren't going to go down, so let's just say that rates aren't going to go down. They're going to stay here forever.
Yeah.
Are you not going to buy this home? People don't get really asked, they don't get asked those questions. And the answer would be, if they're going to stay here, yeah, I'm going to buy it because I'm okay with the payment.
Mm-hmm.
It's because it moves so quick. If those rates went from 2.5% to 8% over the course of 6 years, that would be a different story. We wouldn't be having these issues.
That's exactly right.
But because it happened within less than a 2-year period, it's shell shock. And it came to a point where I would talk to a client on Monday. They'd go look at homes on Friday, and they'd call me the next Monday. I'm like, your rate's half a point higher. It's like, what do you mean? I have had to adjust my business in so many different facets of communication on things like that, where we're literally learning it as it's happening. Like, how did that rate do that? In the beginning of my career, a rate would move maybe an eighth in a month.
Such a different world.
It was just flat.
It's crazy.
Right? Called a quarter at most.
Yeah.
And now we are seeing that intradaily.
Right.
And again, to the 10-year, how you asked how it correlates. The 10-year affects the rate at which people borrow money. The higher that is, the more expensive it is. Mortgages happens to be one of those things that correlates to it. And dude, it's been the most wild year of my life. The last 2 years, it's, when you tell someone that when you've given them payments on something, right? and it's a half a point or more higher, not only are they just completely flabbergasted, they think I'm lying.
Yeah, there's a level of trust they probably feel that's been broken.
And honestly, do you blame them?
No.
No, because I would be doing the same thing if someone said that to me. And, we do a very good job of building rapport with our clients. We don't do online applications. We do them all over the phone. We're all about the hand-holding. And even then, and it was something I had to struggle with because people are like, well, I'm seeing online that it's cheaper. You lied to me. I'm like, no, I promise you I didn't. Crazy time, man.
Are you having those conversations up front with your clients now where you're saying, look, we're in a very difficult time.
100%.
Just to let you know, you could have a rate jump. So you're you're letting your customers know where we're at.
We adapted and we learned from it, right? So if you don't adapt quickly, especially in this environment, it'll eat you alive. It's gotten better. It's slowed down, like I said. But in the beginning, I coached everyone in my office and anyone writing a pre-approval. Let's start doing this. Let's quote half a point higher rate on the payment to make sure they're comfortable with it. Let them know that the rate is half a point lower today, but your payment's based on this because rates are fluctuating so much. And we would just take that route. Sometimes it would backfire. Well, why are you giving me a half a point higher rate on the quote? I'm like, well, let me explain it to you. The market's moving so much intraday. Since we've been on the phone, quarter higher. So it was a lot of learning. But this is what history is. Now going forward in my career, I've been through this. I know to expect that if this happens again, I know how to handle it.
If you enjoyed this clip, click here for the full episode and make sure to subscribe. Thank you guys for watching.